The aim of video 6 is to introduce you to the unique role biblical principles or spirituality can play during the meaning-forming stage of neurobiological information processing. This theme is important, seeing that narrative care as a therapeutic approach to counseling in general and to Christian counseling in particular is based on both neurobiological and biblical principles. Spirituality. Neuroscience is the study of the nervous system. The boundaries of this field of study are pretty clear. It is what it is. In contrast, the boundaries of biology, the study of life, are less clear, and that of spirituality are not clear at all. At least 27 different definitions of spirituality have developed over the years. The frustrating problem for researchers in this field is that these definitions have very little in common. One of the reasons is that fundamental spiritualities are exclusive and antagonistic in nature. Every one of them has to be defined in its own right. Spirituality continue. The historical development of collective thinking behind each spirituality include the deepest values and meanings by which people live, and the idea of an ultimate, immaterial, supernatural reality or realm beyond the known and observable. In line with this trend of thought, prominent neurobiology scientists nowadays claim that at the quantum level, reality does not exist as finite, separately quantifiable matter. It only exists as an open possibility that is part of a dynamic web of macro and micro interactions. Spirituality continue. The million-dollar question is, where does the Creator God fit into this maze of spiritualities? Does He exist within an ultimate, immaterial, supernatural reality or realm beyond the known and observable? Does He exist as an open possibility that is part of a dynamic web of macro and micro interactions? Does He just get dropped off the agenda due to an inability to measure, explain, or label Him? One thing is certain. What we believe about God determines what we do. Spirituality continue. The picture that comes to mind when I think about the unique role biblical principles or spirituality can play during the meaning-forming stage of neurobiological information processing is one of a single hand holding onto the strings of a whole bunch of helium-filled balloons of all colors and kinds. The concept of spirituality is, in a sense, like the balloons, all of them fluttering in the sky while being viewed through the eyes of someone in distress, asking, where does my help come from? For him or her, these balloons or spiritualities are similar but different. The boundaries of two balloons cannot even be fused without bursting both. In narrative care terms, the spirituality of this confused and distressed person is compromised. Spirituality continue. I believe there is enough evidence that both enriched and compromised neurobiological processes may significantly affect the physical, mental, social, and spiritual wellness of those of us struggling with chronic stress-related conditions and disorders. I also believe there is enough evidence that both compromised and enriched spirituality may also significantly affect our neurobiological wellness. One thing is certain: what we believe about God determines what we do. I suggested earlier that our left hand can be used as a visible and adjustable symbol to help us visualize the locations and functions of various structures and neural networks of our responsive brain or cerebrum. I mentioned that our fingers may represent different neural networks, accommodating emotion-specific storied narratives. For instance, shame storied narratives. I also mentioned that the nail on each finger represents the spiritual dimension of that particular storied narrative. For instance, the spiritual dimension of shame. We said that in the same way our fingers can function without nails, but are not as effective and resilient as with them, storied narratives can function without a spiritual dimension, but may not be as effective and resilience-enhancing as with them. We all agreed that nothing changes if nothing changes. We agreed that therapeutic change in service of neurobiological wellness is not negotiable. However, in terms of narrative care as a therapeutic approach to Christian counseling, neurobiological change alone does not go far enough. Because narrative care is based on faith in the one and only Creator God revealed to us in the Bible, including the Old and New Testament, what we believe about God determines what we do. All our narrative care therapeutic interventions are therefore based on faith in the one and only Creator God revealed to us in the Bible. Narrative care therapeutic interventions during the meaning-giving processing of sensory information, memory information, or imagination information tends to facilitate change from an unfamiliar or uncontrollable or incongruent to a familiar, controllable, congruent new normal. Numerous skills are mentioned in counseling literature that can be used to help persons in distress with stressor minimization and resilience enhancement. Narrative care interventions or skills, though, can be seen as those therapeutic ingredients that add a spiritual dimension to stressor minimization and resilience enhancement. Each one in its own right is therefore an example of biblically based spiritual practice that lies at the heart of narrative care as therapeutic approach. They are therapeutic as far as they are used as cybernetic or self-correction narrative interventions on the one hand, and as far as they bring about sustainable resilience enhancement and stressor minimization on the other hand. They represent Bible-based spiritual practice as far as they somehow enhance the process of sanctification. In the narrative care intervention videos, see YouTube, Narrative Care Interventions playlist. I share a selection of narrative care interventions that brought about a new normal in my life. I experienced my exposure to them as new narratives. Due to taking ownership of the biblical principles mentioned in these interventions, I personally experience sustainable resilience enhancement and stressor minimization. I therefore also introduce, teach, and use these interventions during narrative care therapy as cybernetic or self-correcting narrative interventions. These interventions build on one another and complement each other and should rather be used in concert and not in isolation.